Hello and welcome! Magnus episode 43 is here. You're also going to hear the air conditioner that's over there because it is incredibly hot in this house. But we're back on schedule and I'm so excited about it. It is Tuesday as I record this. I am recording this on the day it released, and that just feels special to me because I've missed that for months now. Multiple times because they weren't out yet because it was on break, and then also because I didn't get it done on time. So we're going to roll right into it. Magnus episode 43, Sink or Swim. Before we get into our classification number, the one thing I did forget is that last episode I talked about Albrecht von Clausen and Schwarzwald. The reference I was actually trying to reference, as was pointed out by, let me get the name, always got to credit people, it's important, by Strux 1, which I feel like I said that very poorly, but that it's actually episode 127 that I was thinking of with Fanshawe. It's the same story, basically, of Albrecht von Clausen and the eyes and everything, but it is episode 127, not 23 of the Magnus Archives when that happened. So thank you for pointing that out. I always read all the comments and always try to interact with those that I can. Our classification number this week is CAT1RB 4153-270-2010-1106-2024. Idolatry music, compulsion, drowning. Idolatry is an interesting one there because I think this all ties back into what we were talking about last episode, and I think we've cracked a piece of the code. I think we are so much closer to understanding everything than I thought we were, and at some point, it won't be this week, and it probably won't be the next week, but at some point I will go back through every episode and try to apply that theory, right, and see what I come up with. But anyway, we start off with Heinrich and Heimlich, right, and he mentions that his skin was hard to craft. Alice goes to ask him a question about that and stopped herself, and then also Heinrich and Heimlich recognizes this spot, sees the alley, and is like, basically, hey, this is where Colin called me safe. And I'm still upset about it, but you're not Colin. I just wish he wasn't dead. I wasn't going to kill him, but I was going to scare him. And I wish he wasn't dead. There's alchemical symbols on the flashes in the windows of maybe different tattoos or just ads, right? But this is when we find out that Klaus Schweitzer is the name of the programmer. This is also when we find out that Klaus Schweitzer was collecting Oscar Jarrett tattoos, or at least facsimiles of them, right? Oscar Jarrett being the tattoo artist that made the tattoo of the waves that was a student to Sutherland that Inksoul was so focused on, and the tattoo of the sun. Oscar Jarrett's tattoos seem to bring out a life of their own in people. To the idea of what they were almost seemed to possess the person, and it was all they could think about, and it took over them. Something that became alive. However, Klaus Schweitzer is no longer here, nor is any of his equipment, because he was taken by Stasi. Stasi being the secret police for Eastern Germany, and also, most likely then, is the person that Colin was talking about when Colin mentioned that he making Mama and Daddy, no, let me get the quote right, Mommy and Daddy Stasi proud. I assume he was talking about Klaus, the person that is watching them, right? So, Klaus, who made Freddy, who programmed Freddy at least, was working for the Eastern German secret police. Could be some really cool revelations there. Could be it wasn't actually the Eastern German secret police at all, and it was the Institute, and they didn't know that. There's a few different things it could be. Our case today starts out in French. The collector David Collins, and from his collection, an interview from Prim Rosewell to Monique Bakayoko. And I don't think this will be the last time that we hear from David Collins. I think this collector is going to be important, right? Monique Bakayoko, a opera singer that's compared to the great Maria Callas, something that she's not happy to be compared to, right? Her story of how she was sailing on the Adriatic, her yacht capsized, and she talks about what a diva is, one who dies and becomes divine. Trapped under the yacht in an air bubble, there's something down there, something moving in the water. She mentions that it almost feels like it's cutting her as it goes by, but it's not until she becomes afraid of the idea of a hand grabbing her that she is grabbed, right? Could it have been a hand the whole time and the fingernails were too sharp and it cut her as it went by? Sure. Could it have been that it sensed the fear deep within her that she hadn't yet formed into a hand grabbing her? Possibly, but I don't think that's what happened. I think it was either a fish that bumped her or a rock or something like that until the fear mounted. There was already fear, right? It was already growing. Maybe there was a creature forming in the water, but it wasn't until she gave thought to the idea that it became a hand. And that's just my theory. But we have so much of that, right? And I don't just mean in Magnus. I mean just like in the collective consciousness of mankind, right? What is the thing that goes bump in the night? The thing in the dark that you cannot see? The thing that you're afraid of? It's not until you put a face or a name or an idea to that fear that it truly terrifies you. A noise in the dark could be anything. It could be a cricket. It could be a mouse. It could be a bear. It could be a man. It could be a car. It could be a monster, but until you know it's just a noise in the dark. But once you decide it's a monster, once you decide it's a man, once you decide it's a bear, then the fear begins to really grip hold of you. Until that moment, it is ambiguous. It could be anything. Yes, that's scary in and of itself, but it's the moment when you know what it is that the true fear sets in. Whether she actually knew or not, she decided what it was, and it seems like it became that. And this, I think, is confirmation, to me at least, unless the story tells me differently, that it is the fear is the catalyst for the alchemy to happen. That the formula, the alchemical formula is situation plus fear equals result, right? So in this situation, she is trapped under a yacht that has capsized, terribly afraid, and the fear becomes so strong, so irrepressible, so unavoidable, so real, that it doesn't just manifest, right? It becomes. It creates. The chemicals either in her body or in the water around her resonate with that fear and become something, right? One of the most important things about alchemy is that it doesn't just happen. There is a reason why things happen, right? There is no such thing as an accidental prime material. It must be the prima materia. It is something special. It is something thing, right? It can't just be a nothing. It can't just happen by chance. It has to be repeatable. It has to be science. And I think what we're seeing here is that, right? It is that chemical of the water around her responding to that fear, and when the two meld together, it goes through the process. Maybe it started as an unshapable fear. It hadn't yet found its shape, but it found it in the form of her fears growing stronger, right? Maybe when we talk about the paper skeleton that couldn't move on its own, it wasn't just the fear of it that made it happen, but once that true terror set in, the object in front of Sam mixed with that fear, the object of his fear, right? And the two solved to become alive. In that same way that it seems like, based on what happens in a minute here, the water itself the object of her fear, once realized, became these hands. And so, I'm not going to sit here and try and lay out a full alchemical equation because I'm not an alchemist, right? I have studied all this for the sake of Magnus, not because it's something I wanted to study on my own, right? I don't have anything against it, but it's not my own passion in this life, right? Alchemy. But if the process of the four, or the process of the elements, or the process of the 12 steps or the 14 steps is simplified, is it not really substance dissolves, solidifies, takes form, right? Fear dissolves into the things around, solidifies within them, and takes form, becomes purified, becomes itself. I feel I might just be losing my mind over here. I've got to have a haircut, so I'm all bushy, and I look like I'm losing my mind, like I've become a madman in the cupboard, just yelling about alchemy and the fear. But I really think this is what's going on, that it is that alchemical equation, and somehow fear is the prime material. It is the prima materia. I could be wrong, but when we look at what happens here, she doesn't give in to the fear. She overcomes it. She embraces it. She quells the fear inside her and devours it. She makes it a part of her again, right? And so when she sings, she's no longer afraid, and the hands respond. They clap. Later on, when she sings again, that fear that resonates from her, that she is now able to instill in others, bursts forth in the form of these hands, and she enjoys it to the point where when Prim Rosewell tries to leave, it seems like Monique Bacchiacco turns her into a watery hand grave as well. It is definitely alchemical in my mind, right? Her song carried the fear into them. Her version of the fear, her control of the fear, instilled it within them, and then that fear reacted with their bodies, alchemically, most likely with the water in their bodies, to turn it into brine, to bring forth the hands from their organs. And they just had strokes, right? Also, at the end of this episode, Gwen leaves to go have her meeting with Lena, and the office is very empty. That's probably something's going to happen there, whether Starkwall comes in or whether one of the externals shows up again. I mean, Mowbray knows how to get there. But I really feel like this is it, right? The externals are people that have felt that fear and chosen to be a part of it, embraced it. That fear that came from them, they have cannibalized it and made it a part of them again, and now they can instill it in others, right? Needles talks about how the pain used to be something that bothered them, but now they've embraced it, right? Mowbray loves the hunt. Was it that she was hunted once by her own fears, and she is now who she is? Inksoul was moved and terrified by these tattoos and couldn't stop thinking about them, but chose instead to be the one that brings forth the terror in others with tattoos. I feel like we're on to something here, you know? Mr. Bonzo is absolutely instilling fear into everyone around him when he shows up, right? And they don't act like it at first, but once the fear set in, it's far too late. I think we've got part of it. There's still other pieces of it, right? Is it that the fears set in once someone gives in to fear? Is it that they're bringing about the fear in machinations in this world? Or is it that when someone responds to the fear for negative or for positive, that it then feeds the fears? Are they bound to this world so that fear is just going to alchemically react with people? Or is it that they're responding to the impulse of fear? One thing that I've been mulling over in my mind, in archives, there were moments that reminded us it was a regular world, right? Like Sasha going to the coffee shop. Granted, things were weird there, but Tim sleeping around, random, like I was about to say random and regular at the same time, random regular people coming into the institute to give statements, or people that worked in other departments, right? But the protocol world feels very spaced out, right? Like people don't seem to interact with each other all the time. And that doesn't mean that they're not there. Maybe it's just that we haven't had instances of that very much. I mean, the man at the train station seemed helpful enough, but he was the only one there that seemed to respond, right? The custodian was the only one there. When Alice talks to Teddy, he's the only one really responding. We don't have any back and forth really with the waitress or anything. And I wonder if the fears are set into this world, that Magnus bound them somehow, and people are more distant with each other because of it, without even realizing that's what's going on, that they can't even begin to be afraid, because even the start of a fear could lead to something terrible. I don't know. I am so excited that I feel like we are finally starting to make some headway in understanding things. I don't want it all revealed all at once, but I feel like this is what's happening, and these two cases back to back have to prove that, right? And if we'd gotten them last season, I think it would have been too early, but getting them now, I feel like we're on the right track. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum Magnus has to offer.